Hello everybody, this is Ask Joshi, and today we're going to be doing a deck discussion or deck tech on a brew that I made in Legends of Runeterra, the League of Legends card game that just got announced and has a preview patch this week. The preview patch ends today, so I'm going to be making a couple of videos for you guys to look at some different decks. This one, Darkwing deck, is a mono champion deck. Zed is the only champion in this deck. I wanted to build an Ephemerals deck around him, and I ended up with a pretty solid aggro deck that tops out at just 3 mana. We've got Zed. If you don't know, we can take a look here at his kit. Every time Zed attacks, he creates an attacking Living Shadow, and the Living Shadow looks just like this. It's a 3/2 Ephemeral. Zed does have quick attack, but the Living Shadow does not. So literally, if you play Zed on 3, on defense, for example, you attack on 4 immediately. It's Zed and his shadow. So he levels up whenever he and his shadows or his shadows have struck the enemy nexus twice while he's alive. So if you played on 3, attack on 4 against an empty board, for example, and they can't deal with the Zed and the Living Shadow, he'll level up right away into this scary upgraded Zed, and he creates a Living Shadow with his stats and keywords. So the Living Shadow now will be a 4/3 with quick attack every time he attacks. If you also put other keywords on Zed before he attacks, the Living Shadow will also benefit from those. My deck doesn't do that. We don't go crazy with keywords. We just go crazy with Ephemeral Aggression. And Zed's Shadow Shift is the card that is created whenever you already have a Zed out on the board and you draw a Zed or you have another one in hand, it turns into this card. So this actually lets you rescue, it lets you block with some of your smaller creatures, play this instead to surprise an opponent, sometimes kill their attacking creatures, or just to save your own hide. If someone's pointing at your Zed with removal, this gives you an opportunity to save his life and bring him back to hand so you can play him again later. So Zed on his own, very, very strong champion. We're going to start at the top of the deck here and work our way down, talking about how the deck cards synergize with each other. So Ghost is a very powerful card. Trying to do this in one take to save time because we only have 6 hours left of the preview patch. Ghost gives an ally elusive this round. If you attack at the beginning of your turn, Burst allows you to give any of your attackers elusive right away. And a big Zed or a big ephemeral unit, such as the Darkwater Scourge, lets you get 5 damage in pretty easily, or Zed can also help him upgrade very easily. If people can't block Zed and he hits the Nexus, then he can actually level up. Shadow Fiend is your first ephemeral card. Ephemeral, let's just talk about what that actually means. Let's find the Shadow Fiend here. So ephemeral, the keyword, this unit dies when it strikes or the round ends. So on turn 1, if you play this 4/3 for 1 mana and you attack with it, you're either going to deal 4 damage to the Nexus or kill a blocker. There's pretty much nothing that stands up to this on turn 1. A lot of people don't want to lose their creature on turn 1 and end up letting the 4 damage in. So very, very often if you get this in your opening hand, you can actually do some damage with it. It's very important not to play this on defense on turn 1 because most of the times you're not going to be able to block anything, or yeah, you've basically just spent a card. If they play a creature and then you counter with this, they're probably just not going to attack. It wouldn't benefit them to do so. So I would recommend holding this until you can actually attack with it. Or Desperation Defense. Sparring Student is actually a key card here. So Sparring Student, oops, I don't want to click it out of the deck. Sparring Student, when you summon an ally, give me +1/+1 this round. So obviously this is a very strong 1-drop in this deck. With Zed already creating copies, you can actually drag this 1/1 and a Zed into the fight, and then when Zed makes his shadow, the Sparring Student just becomes a 2/2 before they have a chance to block. So with other cards in the deck that we'll go over in just a moment, you'll see how this gets increasingly more powerful. Greenglade Duo, same premise. It's a 2-drop, and it's got not +1/+1 per round, only +1/+0 per round, but elusives can only be blocked by other elusives. This is similar to flying mechanic in Magic the Gathering. Only flyers can block flyers, but flyers can block whatever they want. So Greenglade Duo also going to be growing with Zed Shadows and things like Haunted Relic, Shark Chariot. As we continue on, you'll see all the various units that we create to pump the Sparring Student and the Greenglade Duo. Greenglade Duo very often is the card that will win your game at the end because they do not have an elusive to deal with it. And you can sometimes just pump things, put them on the bench, and Greenglade Duo will grow big enough to close out a game. Haunted Relic obviously you can see the synergy here. It creates 3 Unleashed Spirits, which are ephemeral. So for 2 mana, you make 3 1/1s that disappear after they hit something or the end of the round. Because they're ephemeral, they benefit from Soul Shepherd. Later on, we'll get to that. So sometimes you actually get 3 2/2s for 2 mana just for the turn. Haunted Relic is extremely valuable as a blocking tool. Because of your large amount of ephemeral units, Haunted Relic is going to be your backstop against a bunch of 3/3s, 4/4s, etc. Whenever they're attacking at the beginning of their turn, they usually will play another creature because they see on your bench you've only got a Zed or 1 Greenglade Duo or 1 Sparring Student, something like that. They'll usually play a creature because they think they're going to be able to hit you with it. You play the Haunted Relic and suddenly it changes their whole game plan after they've already played their unit and spent their mana. So Haunted Relic can be really good for aggro if you have an opportunity to pump Sparring Student by +3/+3 or Greenglade Duo by +3/+0. Sometimes that can close out a game. Navori Highwayman, similar concept to the Haunted Relic, is actually a 1/2 that makes another 1/2 on entry. So it's 2/4 worth of stats for just 2 mana. It's 2 blockers that are permanent, not ephemeral. So they're actually another great backstop and another great pump for Sparring Student and Greenglade Duo. Shark Chariot is a key card in this deck. When an ephemeral ally attacks, revive me attacking. So, because we have so many ephemerals, including Zed's Shadow, that can summon the Shark Chariot while attacking, you pretty much just want to play Shark Chariot on turn 2 if you have a Shark Chariot on turn 2. Offense or defense doesn't really matter. You got to think of it as a future investment for all future rounds because the Shark Chariots add up very quickly, and every future round that a Shark Chariot is revived and attacking, it's going to bump these Sparring Student and Greenglade Duo up even more. And again, can close out games just from having Shark Chariots used earlier in the game that weren't effective. They will be effective later when they get summoned over and over. Silent Shadowseer, fantastic card, mostly because it's only got 1 toughness, but most of the time it's in your hand. It doesn't stick around in play, it just goes back to your hand. So because it's elusive and ephemeral, it's going to get its hit, come back to your hand. It can summon the Shark Chariots while attacking and is pumped by Soul Shepherd. Soul Shepherd is what you call a Lord effect or an Anthem effect. When you summon an ephemeral ally, grant it +1/+1. That goes for all of your Haunted Relics. That goes for your Shark Chariots. That goes for your Silent Shadowseers. That goes for your 5/5 lifelink later on, becomes a 6/6 or a 7/7 lifelink if you have 2 Soul Shepherds out. And your Zed Shadows benefit from the Soul Shepherd. So Soul Shepherd you're rarely going to actually be attacking with because Zed makes extra attackers and the Shark Chariots make extra attackers. Your Soul Shepherds will very often be able to just sit quietly on your bench, pumping the rest of your team. It is a permanent and not ephemeral itself, so it can function as a blocker in desperate times. Darkwater Scourge. Very often you're not going to be attacking with Darkwater Scourge. You're going to be playing it similar to the Haunted Relic where, suddenly there's a 5/5 lifelink, and not only is it going to most likely kill something that it's blocking because it's just a massive body for 3 mana, but also that lifelink comes in super handy in racing scenarios against other aggro decks. Deny is extremely important. Deny is how you survive against Freljord, ramp, and removal decks. Avalanche, She Who Wanders, Anivia, all those effects can be blocked by Deny. You can also block spot removal, such as, basically any spot removal that threatens your Zed. Zed is basically your most important card to actually have in battle, so anything that targets your Zed, you want to deny and keep him attacking as much as possible. Shadow Assassin fits the theme of elusive and gives you card draw. For only 3 mana, it's actually pretty decent. It can block Teemo, it can kill a level 2 Teemo. There are a few other elusive decks that just focus on hammering down with elusive, so Shadow Assassin does have some utility and has the ability to be permanent, or actually is permanent, so it's not going to disappear every round like your Silent Shadowseer, and does have some permanence with 2 toughness rather than just 1, so can be a better blocker against elusives sometimes than your Greenglade Duo. You'd rather get rid of your Shadow Assassin because the effect of just being played gives her value already by drawing a card. Zed's Shadow Step actually is great for Shadow Assassin as well, because after you've blocked an elusive creature, you can swap out Shadow Assassin with a 3/2 ephemeral, sometimes kill the elusive, sometimes end up drawing another card by playing Shadow Assassin again. And the ephemeral doesn't normally have elusive, so you're blocking things that they wouldn't have expected to be blocked. Twin Disciplines. Now this is the combat trick for the deck. I recently bumped it up to a 3 of because I found that Black Spear, a card that I was using previously, was just a little bit too slow and sometimes not actually a usable card. Sometimes you don't have things die, sometimes they have more than 3 health anyway, so Twin Disciplines I really prefer. You can use Twin Disciplines almost as a deny by giving your units +3 defense very quickly. That's again a great blocker against spot removal. Even Culling Threat, which is kill something with 3 power, just give it more power. Suddenly it can't be Culling Threat. So Twin Disciplines is fantastic for keeping your creatures alive, and as you can tell, in the end of the game, if a Zed is unblocked, if a Shadow Assassin is unblocked, anything that they can't block, you just slap the +3/+0 attack on it and push that lethal damage. So that is the explanation for the deck. We're just going to go ahead and jump in a game very quickly here so we can see it in action. And this is the deck that I have played the most. I brewed it, I want to say Thursday? No, I brewed it Friday morning and played it most of Friday and a bit on Saturday. So I think I have about 60 or 70 games on it. And one thing that's actually nice about it for ladder, there is no ranked ladder yet, but right now you're just playing for experience. It's very quick, win or lose. So again, Shadow Fiend, you're looking for a 1, 2, and 3 drop. Your best possible draw is Sparring Student. Hang on, let's ditch. You don't want the Ephemerals this early. Soul Shepherd's okay as a 2 drop, so we're gonna keep that just in case. But Sparring Student, Shark Chariot, and Zed are your ideal 1, 2, and 3 drops. We did get a Shark Chariot there, so that's good. We're attacking, so I mentioned this before. If you drop this, they may block, but then you're getting a 1-for-1, and if they don't block, you're getting 4 damage immediately, and that 4 damage can actually be a huge, huge component. So we'll see if we end up... either way, we're going to attack because the 4/3 will disappear, whether it hits something or whether the turn ends. There's really no reason not to attack with it ever after you've played it. So this is a 1-for-1, gets rid of a blocker later. Does not bother us because we are all about aggression. We want to try and finish games as quickly as we can. I will say that this Freljord and Ionia combination is probably the hardest deck for us to face. Now we're in the weird situation again where we can either Shark Chariot or Soul Shepherd. Doesn't really matter what he plays. Again, we're on our own plan here. I want to say Shark Chariot here. Normally it would be better if we had other Ephemerals in hand already. Soul Shepherd also is better with Ephemerals in hand, so it doesn't much matter which one we play. Shark Chariot, again, is an investment for all future rounds that we attack with Ephemeral. The Shark Chariot will show up. Soul Shepherd will buff it later on anyway, so I think that will be the correct play right now. We don't mind taking 1 damage here. Really not a big deal. Drawing 2 denies is actually kind of rough for us. We'd really prefer to have lots of creatures at the beginning. Zed just showed up, so we will definitely be playing that on his defensive turn and perhaps banking a mana unless something better comes along. Zed is basically one of our best draws possible. So we are facing a buff deck, it looks like. I do have elusive, so he will not be able to block. We're going to push in 2 damage, no problem. Again, only elusives can block other elusives. So we have 9 elusives in the deck and 1 ghost card for finishers, for Zed or for Ephemerals that are oversized for their cost. So now on defense, we do have the option of playing 2 creatures. I'm definitely not going to block that because we are racing. That is our whole idea. We definitely don't want to use our evasion. We don't want to use Twin Disciplines to block. We're using life as a resource here. We only really want to block if we're going to lose the game. So now we have an opportunity to play Zed, or we can play Soul Shepherd and Greenglade duo. I think that's actually going to be stronger because at the beginning of our turn we can play Zed. The Shadow will guarantee get a +1/+1. Greenglade duo will also grow from playing both Zed and the Shadow. So we're looking at 4, 5, 6 plus Zed attacks. Maybe even the Soul Shepherd, depending on what he has on the board by then. Twin Disciplines also. We will not have the mana available to play Zed and Twin Disciplines, so we might have to be a little bit careful. See what he's got. We are usually worried about Avalanche. Right now we don't have the mana up to play Deny, and probably won't until we're defending again. But you know, having at least one deny against Freljord is definitely a nice spot to be in. Having 2 is a bit excessive. We'd rather have more explosive power. He is choosing to not spend mana. He may actually be AFK, and that would be quite unfortunate for the purposes of this video. Oh, man.
Hey, Krabby!
That's my resting face.
We'll see if he's come back yet.
There's a scent in the air.
Oh, he is back. So he is dealing 1 damage to an enemy unit, not a big deal. We're not going to play anything. He may be attacking now. I think he did that to ensure that I won't block a 2-2. No, he's just playing a 5-3, just playing a big butt is how we describe that. So one nice thing about Zed here is that he does have first strike, essentially, quick attack, and this 5-3 will not actually be able to block him without dying, without using some other effect. Unfortunately, we only have 2 mana. Actually, wow, we should have played the Silent Shadow Seer as well. We actually still can. Let's see what he plays. I can't play any other cards, so really it's actually a good thing that we didn't play the Silent Shadow Seer because he ended up doing this.
Can't afford to miss.
We are going to miss a little bit of our pump here, but we're still going to have a very big turn, especially with the Silent Shadow Seer. Hopefully he doesn't have any more removal with this 5 mana, because that would be a bummer. Otherwise, we're looking at 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. And you'll see that now. Not you. No, no. Okay, so Zed, if anything blocks it, it will die to the quick attack. The Shadow, something he should block. He still can block. You really can't let Zed and or his Shadow hit the Nexus if you have the ability to stop it. Yeah, so he's going to prioritize that. We still have a lot of damage, 13 damage coming in. Don't forget you can always hover over this little eyeball here. It's called Oracle's Sight, I believe. And it lets you see the outcome of the combat positionings. And yeah, we're just going to pound it in, get a bunch of damage. The Silent Shadow Seer, as I mentioned before, just comes back to hand. And now we're in a good position. He's got 8, 9, 10 damage on the board, but doesn't really bother us that much. We could actually use Twin Disciplines to block something if desperate. But next turn, we're actually representing lethal. Another nice thing is +3/+0 on Zed can give him a 6 damage quick attack if something massive does show up. Okay, he's going to give an ally in hand +3/+3, which doesn't improve his board against me very much. Right now we have the opportunity to play permanents as blockers. These are totally expendable. Great chump blockers against a 5-3 and a 4-4, for example, preventing lots of damage and not really costing us much more than 2 mana. I don't have any other permanents to play, so the only thing I'm looking to really do here is deny a board wipe or buff a blocker. I really don't even need to block though, so we're probably just going to save this for offensive power with our elusive character. Block, block, don't care about these. All these are too important to lose. And 5 damage doesn't really matter to us that much when we're already representing much more than that on the clap back. So the interesting thing we're probably going to see on my attack is the way that the burst priority works. We're going to be attacking with Zed, which will make a 4-3 clone and a 4-2 shark, as well as the 2-2 elusive. He'll only be able to block 3 of those. Grant damage ally +3/+3, does not bother us. We have no permanents to play, so we're going to pass. Okay, so now we have to decide, can we actually win this game by attacking right now? If we do attack, we'll have a 3-2, a 4-3, a 4-2 shark, and a 2-2 elusive. Everything can be blocked but the 2-2 elusive. We're not going to be able to push 9 damage with just that. So my thought is Haunted Relic makes 3 more 2-2s, but then we've already got 4 attackers, so that's not our ideal. We're going to play Silent Shadow Seer as a 4-2 elusive. This gives us 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 possibility. We're going to be looking to deny any sort of removal on this turn. I doubt he has any elusives. I don't really expect Freljord Ionia to play them. It is possible. Okay, so Braum is annoying, but actually doesn't hurt our elusive plan here. So we're going to attack with Zed, who again makes a shark and a Zed clone. We've got our 2 elusives that can't be blocked, and we're representing lethal. This is the important part. If you're not representing lethal, this becomes very difficult to play. If you are representing lethal, then you know he has to block you. And because we know he has to play something or he loses the game, that's when Deny and Twin Disciplines become super duper strong. We have 8 mana to play, so I can actually play 2 different things here. Again, we're representing 6 damage here. 7, 8, 9 should close the game out cleanly. He doesn't appear to be using any spells yet. Okay, sweet. So this should be GG. He has no opportunity to reply to this because it is burst speed, and that is, I believe, game over. Unless he has a burst spell. Burst? No, actually, I'm not sure if he even has the opportunity to play a burst spell. I don't recall what it looks like on the other side for him. He may have a spell, but we do have mana up for Deny still. Otherwise, it looks like we've pretty much got it. We're not worried about Zed or anything else. He's doing his math here. Yeah, 7 plus 2 is 9.
Do they need our help?
It looks like we have Exacxes. He's pretty much confirmed it with the emotes there. What's he got? Ah, see, inconsequential to us. He did have a burst spell. It's not going to be enough. Can we get the GG?
My sleep button.
So this was actually a great example of how the deck works. We got to play a lot of the different utility cards. Got to show how Shark Chariot, even on turn 2 defense, still ended up making a big difference. And the elusives closing it out with the combat trick. Nice game. Hopefully him missing that 1 turn wasn't a big deal for him. He missed 1 response, but I actually didn't play anything, and then he did, and I didn't play anything again. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that's a non-factor for this specific game. He did show up before the end of the turn, and I didn't play anything. So I think that was a deserved win there. Good game overall. We did get a new reward also, but right now rewards are useless because all the cards are unlocked.